Hello, and welcome to Finding, Writing, and Citing, an introduction to using WMU library resources. Today's lesson, bibliographic formats. What we're going to cover today, we're going to identify the basic formats of bibliographic information. When I say basic, I mean four, although there are many, many more. For each of these basic formats, we're going to show an example of an in-text citation. And then throughout this presentation, we will show several times the full reference list or bibliography, which appears at the back of your work. We're going to show this these citations according to the publication manual of the American Psychological Association. We have copies of these in the library, and you can also find the latest updated information because it changes all the time. There's always new editions at the apastyle.org website. Okay, here is the bibliography that we're going to be working from. Notice that the format shows a hanging indent. Every one of these starts with the last name of the author or authors and then initials, followed by the year of publication in parentheses. After that, it differs somewhat. You might want to pause here and take a look at the differences before you continue. But the reason that there's differences is because they are in different formats. Let me explain more what I mean by that. Let's talk about the first and most obvious format is a book. And when I'm talking about a book, I'm not talking about merely something between leather or paperback or cardboard covers with page numbers on it. I'm talking specifically about what's known as a monograph, which is a detailed written study of a single specialized subject or an aspect of it. What that means is chapter 2 follows chapter 1, chapter 3 follows chapter 2, etc. From beginning to end, from once upon a time to the end, it is a single coherent idea. This is different from what's called a book chapter. In the maritime world of publishing, I've noticed a lot of this where basically a researcher publishes just one chapter and it's compiled by a group of editors. So you have a bunch of shorter works that basically make up the book. And what you're looking for when you cite is the specific chapter. Periodicals, I'm sure you've seen those at the library. You've heard what a periodical is, but basically it's just something that comes out periodically. It could be that it comes out at regular intervals. It could be just coming out whenever. But the main thing is that it is serialized. It comes in several volumes or editions over a period of time. In the formats you're most likely used to them, magazines, newspapers, journals. You see these here below. The conference paper. When the papers get collected and published, they are known as proceedings. So you will be citing a paper within a proceedings. Now, these are just the four basic formats, and I think if you know these are going to carry you far because these are considered the four of the most scholarly sorts of information, but there are certainly many others. Okay, let's cover some quick examples of the four basic bibliographic formats. When I talk about these, I want you to know I'm not making a distinction between hard copy or digital. An electronic book for purposes of citation is still a book. Now, we will get into how to cite things in another video, that is how to make the distinction between digital and hard copy when it's necessary. But for the most part, what we're talking about is just think of the book as the monograph, no matter what format it's in, whether it's a CD or whether it's online or whether it's in print. Let's start with the monograph you're probably getting to be very familiar with, Maritime Economics by Martin Stopford. Where you find the information that you need to cite the book is the title page, where you see here the title, the edition, the author, and at the very bottom you see also the place of publication and the name of the publisher. Those are essential, but you don't find everything on the title page. You also want to flip the title page in what's known as the verso, and you will see the date of publication and sometimes other information that you'll need to cite the work. Okay, let's look at it in text. You see that I have the author's last name, the year, and the page number that I found that particular fact or quote. You can see variations in APA where sometimes you'll just see Stopford with the page number or Stopford and the year. I would leave that up to your professor in the particular course on how it's wanted. But the main thing is that whatever you put in parentheses in your text will be an easy way of providing a reference to look at the back of your work to see the full citation. As you see here at the bottom in the bibliography, I have the entire citation as it's required in the APA format. And this is enough information for your reader to go and find that work, look it up, turn to page 89 and see if what you're saying is what the author says. Okay, the journal article. Now, this particular journal, Marine Pollution Bulletin, comes out quarterly. When we get enough of these, sometimes we actually get them bound. So you'll see them in different formats. But remember, it can also be electronic. It can also be online. In fact, this particular journal is online. So how you reference it as far as the content, same way. Okay, when we're looking at a journal article, we obviously have the author of the article. Sometimes there's more than one author. The title of the article. If you look on the spine here, or if you look at the front matter of the journal, you'll see the title of the journal, and you'll also see the volume, the issue, and the year. All of that is required. Now, I don't know if you can see the fine print at the top, but in this final circle, also have the page numbers, because remember, you're not citing the entire journal, which could go on for years and years and years, consisting of thousands of articles, and you're not even citing the entire volume. You're citing some pages within the volume, and that's important information to include in your bibliography, and it looks like so. You'll see that I've referred to Adams twice, and in each case, I use a page number for where I found that particular piece of information. And then if you look down at the bottom at the bibliography, you'll see that I have the entire range, that last element there, 659 to 663. I would not put 659 to 663 in my in-text citation because I'm not getting that fact from the whole 14 or 15 pages. I'm getting it off of one page or a few pages at most. Okay, the book chapter, if you remember, it's a collection of essays that stand on its own, right? They have different authors. Book chapter can have one or more authors, but the point is it's a piece of a larger work. So you see Gunnar Kullenberg's Transportation Across the Sea starting on page 41. Now, you'll get from that chapter itself, you get the chapter title, get the chapter author, and you need to get the start and end pages. So you need to grab that information. But remember, it's also inside of a larger work. So you would go to the verso and the title page and get the rest of the information you need because you've got to get the editors and the title of the book, right? And so you're going to need to get more information about the greater work, but the work that you're quoting is actually inside that book. So how would that look? You'll see I've got a reference to Kullenberg 2008 in my in-text citation, and then you see the full citation at the bottom, and it's at the author of the chapter with the year, and then the title of the chapter, and then note I have the word in because it's found in, and then the editors, and then the title of the book, and then the page range. Just like an article, you're not citing the entire book, you're citing just a specific range of pages that make up that chapter in the book. Then you see the location. That's important information when quoting, when citing a book. And it looks a little complicated there, but the rest of that is just the publisher information. There were several people and several institutions involved in the publishing of that. Okay, a conference paper. It's more of the same, something within something else. So you see the particular paper has its own title, has its own author. And then, of course, you have to remember that it's inside of that larger work. The whole work has its own title and editor, so you've got to get that information. Wouldn't take it off the cover of the book. I'd take it off the title page and the verso, but this just looks a little more colorful. Okay, and to see the conference paper, you see the in-text citation at the top, and at the bottom, you see the author of the paper, and then you see the title of the paper, and then note the word in again, which then lists the editors, the title of the conference proceedings and the page numbers that the conference paper is in, and then the location. The nice thing about using reference tools is that even though you have to be very meticulous in getting this information in the right format, if you put your data in the right way, it gets stored and you can generate it in APA format fairly easily. So this is just an example, but if you use the right tools, you'll see that you can output a bibliography that looks just like this. Okay. Again, you might want to pause and note the differences for the different types of formats, but this is what your bibliography should look like at the end. Now, we only covered the basic bibliographic formats. There are so many other types of formats, probably more than can be counted, and not every tool for helping you generate bibliographies and references is going to cover every single type of format that you might find. We've covered the basics, and if you use those for the book chapter, the article, and the conference paper, and you rely on those primarily in your work, you're first of all going to have a more scholarly paper, and you're going to have authoritative resources, peer-reviewed resources, rather than just something you just found on the internet. However, there are some good things on the internet, and there are definitely other formats than that. But if you use those for primarily, I think your paper is going to be pretty solid. Okay, what we're going to do next, saving your references, an introduction to RefWorks. Thank you.